The first thing we're going to do is get into the spoiler discussion for Fantastic Four, as we decided.
Sure.
So this is Fantastic Four. It hit the theaters. John and I are going to discuss it. I did my full spoiler review on the channel already. John, you liked the movie, right?
Yeah, I did. I loved the movie. I really had a good time with it. Yeah.
I loved it. I thought I couldn't believe how much I liked it. I actually, it's funny because the biggest thing that I was on the fence about when I saw the trailer last time, and I quickly turned around on it, but in my trailer reaction, I was like, I don't know how I feel about the score. I loved the score.
Yeah,
loved the score, and forgot that he had done the Incredibles score. But I was actually listening to the score in my car yesterday, and it's really, really good. But the movie is solid. And again, for people who didn't know, maybe we should do this. I'll do this for people so they know, and if they want to come back later on to it, let's do this. I do spoilers for Fantastic Four, and the movie to me starts off. I loved how it similar again, and I'm not going to do a comparison here to Superman, but similar to what Superman did. That on the positive side was we don't need to set up a whole full thing of the origin story. The movie's not going to be a full origin story. We're going to show you real quick. This is how they got the powers, but this is established. They've fighting all these villains, everything. And I thought it was also great that inside of all of the montage, they paid homage to the great Kirby and Stan Lee villains in the past. And he had all these, there's one actually the full cover for one of the comics. And I thought that they made all of that such a great setup in that retro 60s style. It was a great world building, I thought, by Shackman.
Yeah, retro futuristic. I agree. The colors were amazing. The production design, the way they did the costumes, the looks of everyone, and also the designs of the actual inner workings of their house and the designs of the buildings, the designs of their labs, so much of it, their screens. It was a great callback to the 1950s, 1960s energy. And I thought they nailed that really well throughout the movie and stayed committed to it. There weren't some kind of like anachronistic stuff that went on, everything. And then when it got into space as well, the way the whole thing worked was very reminiscent of old 1950s, 1960s, like sci-fi stuff you see, like Flash Gordon and stuff. So it was really cool.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I hate that beeping. I'm going to make that stop.
Was there a beeping? Oh, I didn't hear. I'm not hearing it.
Oh, hopefully good. Maybe nobody else heard it. You don't hear that? I don't know.
I don't.
Can't get it to turn off. Stop this. Make it stop. Oh, that should make it stop now. Yes, I got it to stop. Hell yeah, I'm the smartest person in the world. So I also I like that retro stuff. I liked how they threw it back there. I liked how the dynamic and how they put things together.
Yeah.
Really liked that setup of when they had Sue essentially tell Reed that she was pregnant. I was like, okay, we're gonna have the guy he's like reluctant to be a dad, and he's not gonna be happy for us, here we go. And he's not. He's happy, and he's a really warm moment. I thought that was such a nice moment between the two of them. He's like, okay, great. Yes, he's locked into science. He's locked in to try to figure out what the hell happened with them. But it all changes and shifts. And it was such a great what happens in parenthood. You can have all these different ideas.
Right.
Your world changes when you have children.
Right.
And it becomes the focus. It certainly became the focus for Sue. And I thought that Vanessa Kirby was so good in bringing that alive too.
She was great. Yeah, their chemistry was fantastic. I know people are like, Pedro's in everything. Yeah, but he's damn good at everything. So you can quiet down now. I love the interaction that they have and the chemistry, and Vanessa was great. And the thing with the kid thing, Chris, you bring that up as a dad yourself. It's like, well, how much I think fathers have and mothers have that concern. Like, what is it about me that's going to be transferred over to my child that I don't want them to endure or go through or experience?
Right.
And so the fact that he's concerned about how their child's going to turn out because of the ways they were affected by the rays up in space, there's that concern throughout that I thought was really great to see. And of course, he was right to be concerned, but it didn't go the way he was fearing it would. It's actually more glorious, So
it's true. I thought that absolutely. The way he's nervous about it, he wants to do tests on them, and also they did a good kind of foreshadowing thing where they are also testing out the teleportation. And Winston and I made this point last week, and I think it was a disservice to Johnny
Yeah.
For them to talk about how he wasn't gonna be the typical Johnny, you wouldn't even noticed anything. He
You mean
was
ahead of time? Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't know how many people are like, "Boy, I can't wait for Johnny Storm to hit on all those girls and have a bunch of sex in a Fantastic Four movie." No one was thinking
no
that,
saying
really.
that. No,
And
you
so
say like, "Oh, they're gonna make him so different and change his characters. They don't wanna offend anybody," and they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. He talks about how he loves women. He's chasing the Silver Surfer around the whole
yeah,
time, which I
yeah,
thought was interesting, and it gave him something to do in the fact that he was interested in trying to score like the unattainable chick, and
yeah.
he's going after her. But at the very end of it, he's also figuring it out, and they didn't make him a moron. He was pretty
No.
smart. You have to
Yeah,
figure,
well, he's a guy that wanted to prove himself. And
yeah,
so that was a nice little subplot for him and his storyline. Like, he wants to be not just seen as something who's not just the brother of the sister of the famous guy.
right.
He wants to be more. And him figuring it out was really integral to the story, and then him calling her out. Like, he wasn't caught up in just in love with her. He was also clear that she was the harbinger of danger. So he was
Right.
calling her out for all the other planets that she helped destroy. So yeah.
All right. I know you all heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, I got it. Rougiette Ready. If the usual pill isn't doing the trick, Rougiette Ready, it could be the answer. It's a 3-in-1 formula. It dissolves under your tongue, absorbs fast. You'll be ready in just 15 minutes on average, not hours, and effects can last up to 36 hours. That means that you're going to stay confident, you're going to stay present, and in control when the moment is right. Getting started is super simple. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships directly to your door. Connect with a provider at rougiette.com/Christian to see if a Rougiette-ready prescription is right for you. You can get the code Christian to get 15% off today. Rougiette.com/Christian. Use that promo code Christian to get 15% off today. Head on over to rougiette.com/Christian. Use that code Christian to get 15% off today. Use the code to support the show, and so Rougiette knows that we sent you. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information.
And that whole thing, the way when she comes down, because it is that whole setup of, okay, here are these superheroes. They're essentially the Avengers of this world. They're the protectors of it. They're the popular politician in Sue Storm. They're the movie star and Johnny, the neighborhood hero and Ben, and the just acclaimed scientist. And you got that all within that setup and everything, the way they build it up. And it's like they're just living life. Everything's good. They're having another kid. They're going on the Timo Ed Sullivan show, and they're doing all of that. And then she comes in and says, "Oh, sorry, you're marked for death now by Galactus."
Right.
And the way that that was like kind of devastating in the way that they set it up. And that leading into that second act, because some people have been talking about second act was slower. I agree that it was slower, but I loved the second act going into space. The visuals in this are just the best visual I've seen in a movie so far this year, I would say.
That's the best sequence in the whole movie. So I loved the second act. Them going into space and them confronting Galactus. By the way, Galactus, so well done, so incredibly awe-inspiring and overwhelming. And the voice from Ralph Ineson really good as well. Him working with Silver Surfer and their interactions throughout, and then that whole sequence, and them jumping on and getting out of that thing, jumping into the ship, and then eluding her and sending her into the black hole. That was a really awesome sequence. So I don't know what people are complaining about with that. I mean, my complaint would be more a matter that some of the things that were presented were handled a little more easily than I want, especially Galactus, were handled a little more easily than I anticipated. But I had no issues with the second act. It was nice because they breezed through the first act. And so when you get into the second, it's okay, what's the conflict? What are the issues? What are the struggles? What are the dangers? The fact that she sticks her hand inside her womb is really scary moment.
Yeah.
And then Sue says, kill him, or rather kill her. She's trying to kill your nephew. Kill her. I
love that they went there. And the scale of it, right, it was just, you saw what they had to kind of go through to get there.
Yeah.
And then you set up the fact, the arrogance also on the Fantastic Four. They go out there and they bring the kid out there. They bring it, and they don't really know, but we've been through this before. We've taken everything out. They never had a threat, I guess, pun intended, of this size, right? So they go out there and they're trying to figure out what it is and trying to negotiate, and even the fact that Galactus even takes a meeting with them, and he's taking that meeting, and he's just bugs, and I think he calls them bugs at one point, whatever he calls them. But he knows, and he sees, and he scans out. He wants to take the meeting because he knows that kid, that finally someone can get me past this. Now, because Galactus said at one point he was like their size, he was like that, and then he became who he was.
Right.
Is that now? I'm not as familiar with the comics. Is that something that Doom gave him?
Not that I recall. That Doom gave him? No, not that I recall. But Doom wants Galactus's power, and I think that's going to be something that's going to play into Doomsday.
Okay.
And we did see hints of Doom with Latveria and an empty seat there.
Yep.
And we see that he's not a part of any of the stuff that's going on with the Fantastic Four. And then we see that end credit scene. But how long has that ship been out there? Because it's 4 years later with the post credit scene. So has Doom been taking the technology from Galactus and becoming an all powerful person now? To
now that's why he wants Franklin, obviously, right?
Right. And that's the situation there. And that's what I think is going to lead into Doomsday and the guilt that Reed Richards feels, because if he had handled the whole Galactus thing and had been on top of it a little bit more, Doom would have never gotten access to this stuff, and which is what leads to, I imagine, Doomsday and Secret War. Yeah. So he's going to carry a healthy amount of guilt, as most of the superheroes usually do in their storylines.
And for people who are watching, we're definitely obviously just jumping around from the things that come to mind. So it's not, we're not going like from A all the way to Z. So like if you have speaking of that Doom scene, what I found was really interesting. Do you know that was actually Downey? That wasn't a stand-in?
That's what they say. I don't. I mean, that's what Matt would say. But
I'll tell you why I believe it.
Okay,
because I think you're going to see that scene. I think it's going to be similar to what they did in I think it was at Civil War when they had Bucky and they showed it in Ant-Man. That scene, I think it's already shot. I think that it's probably a scene, and then in the next shot, they probably turns around and you see his face. And why wouldn't he be in that scene? Because I think that's a scene from the movie.
Yeah, but it's underwhelming. We should have seen his face reflected in the mask.
I disagree.
Oh no, yeah, I thought, because why show from the back? As you said, the reason he's answering the question, Matt Shackman, is because people are like, oh, that's just a stand-in. That wasn't a big deal. If it had shown his face, that's a whole nother ballgame. Or if you'd even seen his face reflected in the silver of his mask as he's holding it, just like a shade of Robert Downey Jr. in the mask, so it's still a little disjointed. You don't know if he's disfigured or burnt or not. That could be really interesting. So I think that would have gone a lot farther to making the scene better. But
see, I liked it, and what I also noticed in the theater was when the songs and the tracks were coming in. Like, do you know the name of the track that it was playing was Alan Silvestri? Doom ? Was the name of that song. I liked it because I don't know enough about what we're going to get from Doom. Are we getting the scarred face? Are we getting there's rumors? I saw this whole thread about how potentially he could. It's going to explain that he's able to, because in comics, I guess in some of the comics, he was able to just take over people's bodies.
Yeah.
So the explanation is going to be he took over Tony Stark's body.
Yeah, that's a storyline in the comics where he becomes like Doom Stark, and so
so it's not actually Tony. Obviously, he possessed Tony's body,
right? Which
they're going to have to explain it. But either way, I didn't want to see him yet. I don't want to know that storyline until I see the movie. I don't want to see him have a scarred face. I don't want to see the mask yet. I loved the back. I was like, okay, we know who that is. Green as shit. That's him. But I don't know. Either way, that scene was pretty wonderful and leading and making me interested going into it. But I think the stuff that really worked, as we just talked about, you and I, the first was the setup and learning who they were, their dynamic, putting it together, setting up that retro feel.
Yeah.
And then the second one was, as you said, the conflict, learning about Galactus, seeing all the stuff that Johnny had to be challenged with in order to try to figure out what he's going to do. And as much as I love Ben is my favorite, right?
Yeah.
He had the least to do.
Unfortunately, because I mean, Ben is a guy who struggles with what Reed has done to him traditionally in the comics, or what has happened on the ship, and he kind of pseudo blames Reed. They really removed that from the movie. There's no path.
The opposite. It seems like Reed cares more about that.
Right. And he's more of the best friend. He's more of the good uncle. He's more, as you said, the neighborhood hero. There is a moment where the TV turns off and you see the reflection. He sees who he used to be, but they didn't really dial into that. And I also thought they really underwrote Alicia, what's her face's character from Poker Face, Natasha Lyonne's character. She that should have been the character that humanized him more. He should have opened up about his issues with
Right.
where being the thing. That would have been the way in, but I guess they decided to cut some of that. And
Probably
Shackman
gonna have
said-
her in the sequel.
yeah, probably. Yeah. Shackman
Right.
says they're not going to do a director's cut of his stuff, but I would have. That's the thing where I think the film did disservice to Ben is there wasn't more of his inner life going on
Yeah.
throughout because everyone had their own particular inner life that was going on, but Ben not so much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's not as I guess doesn't have as much to do, but he's got some great moments, right?
Mhm.
And it's also why you get a guy
Totally.
like Kevin Moss Bachrach. So as you mentioned, he's the good uncle. I absolutely loved the moment when they're sitting around the dinner table. They're waiting for the two of them. And they
Yeah,
haven't-
yeah.
And he looks and he goes, "You're pregnant."
Yeah.
It's not like some intuition. He goes, she's like, "How'd you know?" He goes, "Have you seen your husband's face?" Like he knew him so well,
Yeah.
and he knows his best friend so well. I thought it was just a nice moment and the stuff that he's doing with Herbie. And they didn't get too obnoxious with him and Johnny because even the
No.
clobber in time bit and like all that and the way that they played together was nice. And even though I like that clobber in time bit when he finally says it at the end, it was forced, but I dug it.
Yeah, if the movie works for you, then they've
Yeah.
earned the moment.
Yeah.
And I think they earned the moment too.
They did. I just had a smile on my face watching it too because I think that, and someone asked me this, and I think the answer is yes. It's like, do you like a movie a little bit more when you're not expecting anything, and it turns out, and you really enjoy it, and do you give it a little bit more credit? And the answer is potentially, maybe so. Because I was just locked in, dude, from the beginning of that movie to the end in a movie that I didn't really even care to see.
Well, it goes both ways, doesn't it? Don't you dislike a movie more because you expected it,
Yes.
it looked like it was going to be good, and then you go and see it, and it's a disappointment. So
Yeah.
both sides of the coin exist, and so that do affect how you criticize a film, review a film, look at a film, analyze a film. So yeah, absolutely. And to me, it wasn't so much that I had a big expectations; it was more of an excitement because I loved pretty much all the trailers and all the conversations ahead of time. And so yeah, it really I saw it again on Saturday with the Geek
You
Buddies
did?
and some boys.
Okay.
Yeah, down
Did you do
at
IMAX again? Did you do IMAX first time?
Yes, I did IMAX first
IMAX.
time and then IMAX again. It's the best way to see it.
It is such an IMAX movie.
Yeah,
It is such an IMAX movie. It's like every little bit of detail of how. I mean, it's funny when people are comparing it to Interstellar, and I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? The space scenes look like it doesn't look like a. And this is nothing against comic book movies. It just doesn't feel like it feels like one of those science fiction movies. Like they really put like every penny that they spent was put into actually really defining it, and that even transfers over to that third act when Galactus shows up. And because leading into that, I thought, and this was a little convenient, but I forgave, like you said before, if you were really enjoying it, there's little things you can forgive, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was a little convenient that these, that basically the whole town's got the pitchforks and they're ready to take.
Yeah.
And then Sue gives one speech, and everybody's like, "All right, like, have you ever been on the internet? Like, not everybody is going to be okay with your speech. Hell, I was trying to tell people last week, let's be positive and don't just tell people what to think. Like, don't monitor the comments and tell us what to think." And I said, right, you're right. Fuck it. You guys want to shit each other on each other's faces? Just shit in each other's faces from now on. I don't care. You're right. I shouldn't try to police anything. You're 100% right. Yeah, I go, you know what? Let's say I think when it comes to opinion, don't just tell people. Be like, I don't tell people what to think. You're right. You're right. Just, you know what? Just shit in each other's faces. I don't care. You're right. You're 100% right.
Some people just want to be angry and fight.
No, but they weren't just angry. There were some people that they're right. I shouldn't tell people, look, you want to have an opinion, you want to say something smells like shit, then say something smells like shit. I don't care anymore. But the point is, Sue is not going to give one speech, and then everybody is like, oh, okay, it's fine.
Again, like I said, those were my issues, is them overcoming these obstacles way too breezy. There was just that moment, I agree with you 100%, and then the Galactus stuff. But yes, that moment, I was like, it's a beautiful speech, don't get me wrong, but she should have had to shout down or
a little bit more,
endure a bit more of the skepticism from the audience, And there's no way reporters, the second she comes, there's no way reporters aren't already there when there's a protest happening. The same reporters who were questioning him and questioning them when they came back from seeing Galactus should have been there to yell out some of these things and push her a little bit harder so that she gets to that moment where she says the things that she says. And then you go, oh, damn, that's amazing. Because you got to understand, man, you've got to deliver good conflict, good challenges, good obstacles, because that makes your hero even better. It's just like we talk about all the time in pro wrestling. A great heel makes a great face. And you've got to have that opponent, or that situation that's going to elevate you and make you step up your game. And I thought her just walking out with a child and delivering that speech was a sweet speech. And it was great.
Yeah, it didn't suck me out of it. Though.
Yeah.
I forgave it quick in the same way that I forget. Look, that I think the Silver Surfer's turn was a little easy too.
Yeah.
She's like, this whole time, she's like you said, she's sticking her hands in people's, trying to take babies out of things. And then Johnny's got one speech and says, "I know who you are."
Yeah.
Goes, "Oh, all right, take that, Galactus."
Kill all these people. Right. That's what I'm saying. I think there's 10 to 15 minutes missing from the movie that would have fleshed out Silver Surfer, even fleshed out Galactus. Like, why don't we get a flashback to what Galactus was starting out, and then fleshed out the Thing stuff even more? We don't even know how Reed and the Thing became friends, right? It's just that whole montage, but we don't know about their history too much to understand how they became friends. They're just introduced to us as best friends. So there's a little bit more they could have done. That being said, though, I mean, that's me being super critical and wanting more, which is what you want a movie to do, leave you wanting more and still enjoy it.
Agreed. So, all of that, that's the stuff, that's my minor criticisms. But again, when Galactus comes out though, and still that it was in the trailer, but it's still and I guess on IMAX it just works so much better also. It's like when his shadow is just so menacing over the city, and it's like that's why I kept saying over and over again how terrifying I thought Galactus was, because he's smart. He's not a big he's smart. And he's like, I'm not stepping in that trap, you idiots. I'm gonna go. He's like, that's when he calls them clever little bugs, whatever he says.
Clever little bugs.
Yeah, and then he goes and he sees Franklin, and Franklin's holding and that moment with Herbie, and Herbie starts to shut the window on him or whatever he does too. And Franklin obviously strong enough. You can say, well, how does he survive? He's a baby. He's strong. He figured it out.
Well, it's terrifying to see the hand go through, grab the child and yank it out and hold it, and then pull it out of its cradle and have it, or whatever it is, and carry her and have it holding is in there. And then later when he takes Reed and he is going to separate Reed's limbs, that's amazing.
That was great. And then I love that scene talking about Ben did have somebody when Ben's running through. It's in the trailer, but when he's shoulder the pillars out, more context. It's so great. And they all work together. And I didn't have any problem with Sue, because apparently she's using her powers a little differently than in the comics. I didn't care about that. I thought it worked, and I thought she's able to push him back, because it's like, it to me reminded me of what they say, like if a mother has her child and is trying to and is in danger, can pick up the chair with that mother strength. It reminded me of that. And so when they all work together, and she dies.
She sacrifices her life for a child.
She dies. 100%. And then when they have the baby crawl on her, and you see how powerful he is, that he's able to bring her back now. I just thought it all worked.
Yeah, I mean, the baby CGI was kind of in and out at times.
A little wonky when he's doing the crawling. You're right.
But again, the end result is so good in what he does, and her having that blue flash of lights there in her eyes. So clearly, how is she changed by him bringing her back and exposing her to what his powers are? That's going to be fascinating to see. But him being able to bring back life, so that's just a window into how big Franklin Richards is going to be going forward in the MCU. Look, if Marvel had their way, man, they're going to get everything right here. And we're going to get like a whole new phase of Marvel with these teenager kids or younger kids. And Franklin's going to be a part of it. The Wanda's kids are going to be a part of it. Like, there's so much, if they get it right, to launch into a bunch of other phases. But we'll see. But I like the Franklin Richards stuff. It's the right amount. It was the right amount for the movie.
Agreed. All right. Those are our brief thoughts on them. So what do you guys think about it? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie?